Have you ever read a book that just completely sucked you in? Where the world felt so real, so vivid, that you could almost smell the air and feel the ground beneath your feet. I bet, when you think back on those stories, the setting is just as unforgettable as the characters and the plot. That's because in really masterful writing, setting isn't just a backdrop. It's a living, breathing force that shapes every other element of the story. The environment molds the characters, sparks the conflicts, and echoes the themes in this deep, organic way. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. How you can harness the power of setting to add richness and depth to your own stories. By the end of this video, you'll have a whole new toolbox for making your story worlds feel not just real, but essential. We'll explore how setting influences character, creates plot, and expresses theme. And I'll give you some concrete strategies for weaving those elements together in your own writing. First, let's talk about how setting shapes character. This is probably the most intuitive way that environment impacts a story. We all know that where and how you grow up plays a huge role in making you who you are. The same is true for fictional characters. The physical, cultural, and social world they inhabit is going to mold their personality, skills, desires, and fears in a fundamental way. Think about it. A character who grows up in a war-torn city is going to have a very different skill set and outlook than one raised in a peaceful, prosperous suburb, right? Their setting determines what resources they have access to, what they consider normal versus extraordinary, what kinds of threats they're used to navigating. All of those factors shape who they are at their core. So, when you're developing your characters, really spend some time thinking about their native environment. What opportunities and limitations did it present? What did it teach them to value, to fear, to take for granted? The more you can ground their traits and motivations in a specific setting, the more authentic and cohesive they'll feel. For example, let's say you're writing a story about an explorer who's the first of his people to venture beyond the borders of their isolated mountain valley. That sheltered upbringing might make him resourceful and self-sufficient, but also naive about the dangers and diversity of the wider world. His journey beyond the valley will push him beyond his comfort zone, challenging his beliefs and forcing him to grow in ways he never imagined. So already, that setting is shaping his personality, his journey, and the themes of the story in a powerful way. But setting doesn't just mold characters internally. It's also a wellspring of external challenges that drive the plot. The features of the physical and social landscape create problems for characters to solve and opportunities for them to seize. In other words, the setting itself generates the conflicts that propel your story forward. Think of all the classic plot devices that arise from environment. A plane crash leaves characters stranded on a deserted island. A forbidden love affair pits characters against oppressive societal norms. A long-buried secret threatens to shatter a close-knit, small town. In each case, it's the specific contours of the setting that create the central story problem. So, when you're brainstorming your plot, don't just think about what could go wrong in general. Think about what could go wrong here, in this particular world. What natural disasters, social taboos, or resource scarcities might thrust your characters into crisis? How might different characters be uniquely equipped to tackle these challenges based on their native environment? The more you can tie your conflicts to your setting, the more organic and gripping your story will be. And this brings us to perhaps the deepest and most powerful way that setting can shape a story, by embodying the story's central themes and ideas. At its best, the story world becomes an external mirror of the characters' inner journeys. The literal landscape they must navigate reflects and amplifies the psychological, moral, and philosophical terrain they must traverse. For example, in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Frodo's physical trek across the harrowing landscape of Middle-earth is also a journey into the shadows of temptation and despair within his own heart. The blasted wasteland of Mordor is both a literal danger he must brave and a symbol of the corrupting power of the ring. His external struggle against the Dark Lord Sauron is also an internal battle against his own weakness and fear. That's the power of a setting that operates on both a literal and metaphorical level. To create this kind of thematic resonance in your own stories, look for ways to imbue your setting with symbolic meaning. Are there certain images, landmarks, or natural forces that could represent your character's desires, fears, or philosophical questions? Weave those elements through your descriptions and plot points so that your character's interactions with the outer world reflect their inner transformations. You can also use techniques like repeated motifs. Say, a story set in a seaside town where the rhythms of the tide echo the ebb and flow of the characters' emotional lives. Or have the setting itself seem to change as the characters' perceptions shift. A gloomy forest becoming beautiful and inviting as a character learns to see wonder in the world. The more you can make your setting an active participant in your character and theme, the richer your story will be. So, to recap, setting is a secret weapon for adding depth and complexity to every layer of your story. It shapes your characters' personalities and problems, generates plot-driving conflicts, and embodies your deepest themes and ideas. Wield it wisely, and you won't just transport readers to another world. You'll make them feel the story in their bones. If you want to take an even deeper dive into the art of crafting immersive story worlds, I've put together a whole course on just that topic. You can find the link down in the description if you want to level up your skills even further and support this channel at the same time. But for now, I'd love to hear from you. What are some of your favorite fictional settings, and how did they enrich the stories they inhabited? How has the environment of your own life shaped who you are? Share your thoughts down in the comments so we can all learn from each other. And if this exploration of story setting got your creative gears turning, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more writing wisdom every week. Together, we can all learn to craft story worlds so rich and transporting, our readers will never want to leave. All right, my friends, it's time to go forth and write. Dive deep into your settings and watch your characters, plots, and themes blossom in amazing new ways.